Good morning and welcome to God Hour for July 21st. Breaking the normal style, we're not just going to read a chapter and pick it apart. Instead, I want to try to share some information about a particular person, a very important person, a mortal. Spoilers, not Jesus, it's not God. But it is Paul, aka Saint Paul, also known formerly as Saul, also sometimes referred to as Paul the Apostle. But Paul was not one of the 12 apostles. In other words, and some of this may be sound to a long-term Christian like stuff you didn't need to know. You already knew. Didn't need to hear. You already knew. But if you're a new Christian or Christian curious or just interested in general, I'm hoping some of this information may be useful to you or interesting to you. But not one of the 12 apostles. He's not pictured in the Lord's Supper by Da Vinci, the painting that is. The Last Supper, I should say. He did not even know Jesus in Jesus' life. And he lived as a Pharisee, which is a group of people that I couldn't tell you a whole bunch about, but they were anti-Christian, to put it mildly. They participated, Saul himself, Saul at the time, was personally responsible for the persecution and execution of many thousands of Christians. But you may have heard this term, you may not be familiar with its origin, but you might have heard someone or seen it written somewhere, quote, on the road to Damascus, unquote. Well, that refers to a mission, if you will, that like a military mission that Saul at the time was on, to go persecute and execute a bunch of Christians in Damascus. But on the way there, Paul saw a bright light, and he was Jesus spoke to him. This would be right after the, not long after, a few years, I believe, like 3 years after the execution of Christ. Or maybe only in a few days, I don't remember the facts. I'm not a pastor, I'm just a guy. But the fact is, Paul saw a bright light and accepted Christ, and he was finally convinced, and then later on would become one of the most powerful, important players in Christianity. He wrote, some will just read this number, but 14 of the 27 books of the New Testament, or at least were associated with the 14 of the 27. 7 of those without question. So, writing one book of the Bible is pretty significant, not let alone definitely 7, possibly 14. He is the main source of information for the book of Acts, to Acts of the Apostles. As I said, he did not know Jesus in his life. Some will dispute this as well, but it's widely held by the Christian community, which comes as a little surprise, that he was unmarried and he had no children. He did, however, have an adopted son, or a spiritual son, I believe, as he puts it, Timothy, is what, the book of Timothy, which has some really good stuff in it too. In fact, Paul was referenced to say, and I can't quote the scripture, a pastor, just a guy, that he had no problem with the idea of marriage and reproduction. It's just, it wasn't for him, and he wished people could live as he did. And there's a significance to that I've been learning about, that despite that, he's one of the greatest influencers of Christianity. I mean, all those books like Thessalonians, Philippians, Colossians, Corinthians, are written as letters to nations, explaining Christianity and teaching and beseeching them to turn from wicked ways and trying to offer them guidance on ways to live. In any case, what I was saying is there's been some research done by Carl Jung. It's Jung with a J. Let's see if I can't quickly pull up some stuff on. Here, let's let AI have a shot. But Carl Jung's view of abstinence is an extremely powerful tool for self-discovery and individuation. It's not about, I'm just reading exactly what the Google AI said when I put it in. It's not about mere repression, but rather about loosening the ego's grip and allowing the soul to speak through dreams, archetypes, and inner voices. This process involves redirecting energy inward and can lead to profound personal transformation. And there's a lot. I mean, I could do easily a whole hour about Carl Jung just on this topic, a whole book, a month of content on Carl Jung himself. But if you don't know who Carl Jung was, he's one of the greatest philosophers of all time. I just want to see Carl Jung's views on religion. He viewed religion as a fundamental human psychological function, not just a system of beliefs. Well, let's ask you, what did Carl Jung think of religion? he understood Christianity to be a profound meditation on the meaning of life and of life. Well, that's what we all understand Christianity to be. It's not very helpful. Mr. AI. My main question is, was Carl Jung religious? He was raised Christian and had a lifelong interest in religion, but didn't strictly adhere to Christian doctrines. But he often described himself as neither atheist nor an atheist, rather an agnostic, empirical scientist, which I think is probably true of a lot of scientists, as well as atheism, point blank. There's few scientists that can accept things without scientific proof, such as faith. Einstein stated that coincidence and irony are God's way of remaining anonymous. So Einstein clearly believed in God, a creator. He probably didn't believe in Jesus, probably he was raised Jewish, but all that aside. Anyway, that's our got our feature on Paul. Getting off of Paul too much and focusing on Carl Jung. But that's it. You guys have a great day. I appreciate some subscribes and comments and likes and prayer requests and all that good stuff, as always. And I'm gonna get myself ready to go to work. See y'all in the morning. God bless you.